Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. So today's video is about the iPhone 12 and iPhone 13. It's a comparison video where I tell you which iPhone is best and what to go for if you eventually on the fence of buying one of these iPhones. So before we start, I would like to ask you to like this video, subscribe to this channel like always, and without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So without wasting a lot of your time, let's dive right into the meat of this video. What we know about the differences, there are differences. Even though both iPhones look quite similar, there are some key differences that you should look at and consider for yourself whenever you buy a new iPhone. Well, the first one that's popping up on this particular iPhones is the notch, obviously. So we have here on the right side, which is the iPhone 13, has a slightly smaller notch than the iPhone 12. And does it disturb you when you're looking to the iPhone? No, absolutely not. I think whenever we look to an iPhone for a couple of days, and actually every phone, it starts to get natural to your eyes, and then you will not look at those small details. Yeah, when we get the iPhone 14 with a pill-shaped notch, that will be a whole different story. But now on both iPhones, we do have a notch. Yeah, admittedly, this one.
It was at this moment that he knew.
Yeah, admittedly, this one is slightly bigger than this one. Do you care about it? No, you'll not care whatsoever. Let's turn both iPhones on the back and see what the difference is. Well, those lenses are obviously, this one are on top of each other and these are diagonal. And why did they have chosen to go for a diagonal placement? Well, if you look closely, you see that these lenses are slightly smaller than the lenses of the iPhone 13. So to get a bit more room, they have chosen to go for a diagonal placement. That way they can make those camera lenses slightly bigger, and it works great. I mean, you don't notice anything about it. We do have a slightly bigger camera bump. If you have the right iPhone case, you will not scratch that bump whatsoever. So let's talk about the colors. As you see here, we have a blue color on the right side and a white color on the left side. And that's exactly how Apple have named them. When it comes to the iPhone 13, we don't have a purple color or a green color, which is a bummer. I mean, the purple iPhone looked very nice, and I know there are people who did love that purple color. As a matter of fact, I made an unbox video about that very color in the past, and that iPhone looked nice to me. But what we don't have on the iPhone 12 is a pink color, which is an additional color that came on the iPhone 13 line. Also, we have a green color that's just introduced about a couple of months ago, and that color was also very great. On both spectrums, you will find a color that suits you best. You can go for a black or a white color. When it comes to the iPhone 13, we have Starlight. There is no white color in there. They call it Starlight, but eventually that color looks pretty much white. So that's about the color of these iPhones. Let's go and look at the price of both iPhones. Well, this one at Apple.com, which is the iPhone 12, starts at $699, and this one starts at $799. But there is a trade-off. If you look to the baseline model of the iPhone 13, there is no 64 gigabyte, whereas on the iPhone 12, though, there is a 64 gigabyte as a baseline model. So the baseline models of the iPhone 13 came as 128 gigabytes. So that's something that you will get more storage, more data that you can just store on your iPhone 13. If you go for the iPhone 12 baseline model, you need to work with a 64 gigabyte model. So yeah, be careful with that. I know people on Marketplace, they tend to deceive you by showing you a new iPhone in a box and they sell you eventually a 64 gigabyte. Whereas if you had bought the iPhone 13 for $100 more, you would get a 128 gigabyte storage as a baseline model. So think about that. Whenever you buy a secondhand iPhone or an iPhone at a reseller. So let's go further and talk about the battery. I mean, there is a huge difference when it comes to the battery. On paper, the difference doesn't seem like much, but in reality, we see that the iPhone 13 has a much better battery life than iPhone 12. I need to admit it, the iPhone 12's battery life is not that great. So if you are someone who is a lot on the go and like traveling much and all of that and don't have a power bank on you or something heavy like that, then definitely go for the iPhone 13 because this one will serve you the whole a whole day long. Whereas the iPhone 12, if you write a lot of emails, send a lot of text messages, watch some videos on, I don't know, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and all of that, then you will need to trade on that battery life. So you might be, in a couple of hours, you will be through your battery. And that's a bummer. I think Apple should have tackled that problem on last year's iPhone version, and they didn't. Even though there were some noises about getting a good battery. Yeah, I know where it comes from. I mean, the CPU and GPU, if those are not efficient enough, that battery will not last for long. Especially on today's apps and the amount of energy they need to keep running. We've just reached an era where we need a good working battery to suffice our needs. That's something that the world is transitioning to, and Apple should have tackled that problem at last year's iPhone, but they didn't. Well, they have done a great job on the battery of the iPhone 13. This one will stay a whole day long. On paper, they tell you that this one will go up to 19 hours of video playback. So that means that you just put a video on and that video keeps looping over and over again, and that will give you a 19-hour of battery life. This one has a 17-hour video playback. I doubt that in reality you will find yourself in 8 hours working on your iPhone and that battery will be gone. And that brings us to the chip of this iPhone. We have an A14 Bionic chip and an A15 Bionic chip on the iPhone 13. On paper, once again, they seem to be like each other. Both chips contain a 6-core CPU with 2 performance and 4 efficient cores, which means 4 cores of those CPUs are just for efficiency and 2 cores are for performance. When it comes to the graphics, to the GPU, we have a 4-core GPU on the A15 Bionic chip and also a 4-core GPU on the A14 Bionic chip. The only difference though is that they call it new 4-core GPU on the A15, whereas on the A14 they just call it 4-core GPU. That goes also for the 16-core neural engine. They just call it 16-core neural engine when it comes to the iPhone 12 with the A14 Bionic chip. And here on the iPhone 13, they call it a new 16-core neural engine. Is there any difference in both phones? Once again, yeah, definitely. That determines also the efficiency of both phones. Are they working efficient enough to give you that little more battery life? That's definitely the case when it comes to the iPhone 13. So they've done a great job, and I'm looking forward to see what kind of chip they will introduce on the iPhone 14. Yeah, so both phones are water resistant. They go like 6 meters for up to 30 minutes under the water. Do I advise you to do that? Well, no, absolutely not, because you will end up with moisture in your camera or maybe in your mic, and people will not hear you that great whenever you call them. I'm not saying that will happen, but you are running the risk of getting moisture in your camera lenses, and that's something that you don't want. Also, we have a ceramic shield front and an aeroscopic grade aluminum. That's what this iPhone is made of, which means that the iPhone is very durable. It will last if you let it fall on the ground, even on tills, which seems to be harder than if you just have wood indoors or something like that. Do I recommend you to go without a case when you have an iPhone? No, just buy a case for your iPhone. I mean, yeah, it feels nicer if you're just holding that phone without a case. But if you do have a case, the likelihood of scratching your phone at the end of its life cycle will be much less than having it without a case. So let's go and give it a comparison between both cameras. And as you see, they start immediately just the same. On the iPhone 13, we have a 0.5 button, like an ultra wide modus, and a 1x button. On the iPhone 12, we don't have that. We need to turn it around. And as you see, I'm having there our object that we are filming. And to be honest, there isn't much of a difference. As you see here, it's kind of the same. If I try to zoom in on both iPhones, no, that's portrait. we see that the image of the iPhone 13 is slightly better than the iPhone 12, but I mean, if I go to those stickers on the wall, you see that, yeah, there is no huge difference on both iPhones. I mean, I see the colors of the iPhone 13 are slightly better than the ones of the iPhone 12, but on 5x optical zoom, you don't see much of a difference whatsoever. And yeah, that's actually my 2 cents about it. If I can give you a final verdict about these two iPhones, I will definitely, if you have budget to spare, definitely go for the iPhone 13. If you don't have, yeah, my most important advice to you, if you are opting for the iPhone 12, just look at that battery capacity. You don't want to have it at 80%. You don't even want to have it on 90%. Just go for 100% maximum capacity. That way you are sure about working with your iPhone for the coming like 4 years or so, and even eventually after like done using it, you can even sell it on a marketplace with a slightly, and get some of your cash back to buy whatever iPhone on the market is at that moment. So yeah, that's actually my 2 cents about both of these iPhones. I really enjoy them. They like make your life slightly easier. So thank you so much for watching till the end. Yeah, as always, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.